Well, this is kind of a feeder off of some of the other guys' stuff. Sub 2, my last 4 fix and flips have all been rehabs that were done with Sub 2 financing. You might get a lot of pushback when someone, even if they're motivated to leave their mortgage in place forever, but a lot of people are willing to leave it in place for 6 months while you're doing a rehab. It's the cheapest money you're going to find. I'm doing deals where I'm $5,000 or $7,000 or $8,000 in just to get the house, and picking up a mortgage that's $525 a month. Now, nothing against ISBC, but they've got their place. Again, I try for every deal to go in to negotiate sub 2, and if I can't get it for a buy and hold, or if it's not a buy and hold neighborhood for me, I'm going to fix and flip it, or I'll just get it under contract and figure out what I'm going to do with it, and at least know my carrying costs are going to be low while I've got it. Rehab stories. I'll tell you guys a few ways where I found ways to use other people's money for doing rehabs, if that's all right. Home Depot. Everybody heard of Home Depot? All right, Home Depot has a thing called a project loan. They generally only set those up for homeowners to do. But I walked in there and said, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I've got 2 rehabs over here in Cedar Park, and I just want to buy stuff here. And they're like, we don't care, we just want to sell our stuff. Their project loan is 6.9% interest only for 6 months while you accumulate your project. After the 6 months, they then, I think the rate converts to something like 7 point something, and they amortize it over 7 years. Well, I haven't been in a rehab that's taken me over 6 months to do. As a matter of fact, I set that loan up to do 2 rehabs, and I actually funded 4 off of that, where my monthly payments, you know, rather than writing checks to Home Depot, I'm paying $37, $85, $117, flip the house, pay off the loan. So that's one huge source just for supplies. You can also negotiate a lot better with your rehabbers if you tell them you're picking up the supplies, what's your fee, right? You're not paying the overhead. And a lot of contractors may be rolling their eyes at me, but if I know what I'm paying for the materials, I also know what I'm paying for the services if I do it that way. Sure. It's 6% for you're allowed to accumulate for 6 months, and during that time, it's your average balance at 6% interest only. Now, if you get a rehab done in 3 months and pay it off, you just paid like nothing for your supplies. That's one. The other one, credit unions, local credit unions. I use Amplify for my business accounts. Amplify has a program called the Homeowners Express Line of Credit. The qualifications are that you own a home in Texas and that you have basically a heartbeat and a decent FICO score. You apply online. They do a 48-hour turnaround. I applied online. They asked for, what purpose do you want the money? I basically said I wasn't sure. Pushed the button, and 2 days later, I had a $50,000 line of credit at 7 point something percent. You don't pay a fee for it. You don't until you tap it. You don't pay anything on it. So if I'm doing a rehab, the loan is that loan is in my own name. I loan the money from me to my LLC, and when I'm done, I repay the loan back to myself personally. So there's all kinds of ways you guys can find money. The other thing about that loan is it's like a $50,000 credit card. It is not secured against your home. So even though they call it a homeowner express line of credit, it's not secured against your home. So just a couple of quick tips on where to find some money. So there's all kinds of sources out there, guys. I mean, figure if you're buying a house sub 2 and you're only putting up $5 grand up front, you're getting all your supplies from Home Depot. You're tapping your other credit line at 6 or 7% to pay the rehab while it's going. It's cheap money. So, gotchas. Let's see, gotchas. Well, I'll tell you about a deal I actually just got going here. This was a motivated seller out of California. 4th letter, 4th mailing. They actually had contacted me at the end of last summer just to find out what their house was worth. And the deal was actually, they called back, and I kind of found out their motivation was that their insurance company was going to cancel their policy unless they replaced the roof. So they didn't want to replace the roof. So I kind of dug down a little further, and I said, well, did you get estimates? Well, we called the contractor, and he went out to the house, and it doesn't just need the roof, it needs painting, it needs, and she runs down this laundry list of stuff and tells me that their estimate is $25,000. And I said, well, I need to go see the house. And I go see the house, and I'm walking through, and I'm like, this is like 12 to 15 tops right? So I know I've got $10,000 worth of negotiating room already built in, because in her mind it's $25K to fix this house, and I'm not going to argue with her. So I ended up getting that house. I bought the house for $90,000, subject to $10,000 down, $80,000 mortgage with a monthly payment of $515 a month. It had a tenant in it. I negotiated that before I even closed on the house. She needed to give the tenant 30 days notice, so that the clock was already ticking. There was a month-to-month tenant, and that the tenant needed to go for me to make this deal go through, which they did. So you guys can ask for anything, right? I mean, if the deal had fallen through, she had already given her tenant notice, right? And the guy's already planning on moving out. Once I got the lease, I found out that the lease terms, she hadn't increased the rent in like 7 years, and she never took a security deposit. So no security deposit was a red flag for me. I negotiated the price down another $900, saying there's no way this guy's leaving without some damage in the house, even though I was going to be rehabbing it. So I got another $900 off the purchase price. While we closed mid-month, I got half a month's credit back for the rent that went towards my rehab. And while the tenant was still in there, we replaced the roof, we painted the outside, we fixed the fence, and we did the landscaping. So when he left the 31st, all I had left to do was the inside, all the lipstick stuff, and the rehab's going to be done this weekend. So I used 2 months of a tenant still occupying the property to do the rehab. It's time's money, guys, right? Well, I'm not going to wait till he's out of there. I mean, he's moving. He's going to hear some roofers up there for 4 or 5 hours, right? So I don't know. That's just a couple of the recent ones. But, I mean, I've been doing this actively for a couple of years now. I've got a full-time job. I know Shanoa tells me I should get fired and do this more, but I've got a full-time job, and I do this on the side. My rehabbers, I'm good at finding deals. Once I've got deals, I've got no problem finding guys who want to partner for 50% and do all of the rehab, pay for the rehab. That's another way to use people's money. Your rehabbers will also pay for stuff just to get a check on the back end. So tons of ways to make money in this, guys, without really tying up a whole bunch of your own money.